So let's start recording this lesson. It was short notes off record for some obvious reasons, and people who didn't come to class didn't hear that. It's fine. So all information for assignment is it will be on record, and I will tell it. So in the assignment 4, I explicitly allow you to use artificial intelligence, but in the terms not asking to do everything for you. Okay? So you can ask questions. You can use results in code, provided that you do it you understand it and you adjust it to your project, obviously. If you ask artificial intelligence to write entire assignment for you, this will be considered cheating, and most likely the code produced will not work. So you will not even get a reasonable grade, because in this course, my requirement is that code should work. If it doesn't compile, you will get very low credit for it. Okay? Most likely, if you ask artificial intelligence engine for assignment 4 to do it for you, most likely it will not even compile. It's my experience. Okay? And most likely it will not even compile. And I didn't ask to write the code from scratch for artificial intelligence. I was asking specific questions when I was getting answers. And even for that specific small things, the code didn't compile because it had compilation errors in it. And not just because it didn't see entire code, but just its current state of artificial intelligence engine, specifically for this part of Android programming, is such that it's not trained enough to produce code that compiles, unfortunately. Because in order to train artificial intelligence, it should be enough code base that is working in order to produce it sensible and compilable code. Situation is not this way, but it will help you a lot. So it is absolutely useful skill to get experience in using artificial intelligence in your programming, and I'm completely convinced that it is critical skill. So in assignment 4, I explicitly allow you to use it, but restriction is I do not ask to do everything from scratch for you, like do this problem and let's hope it will work. Most likely it will not work. Most likely it won't, and you will spend humongous amount of time trying to figure out why. So the best way is to, in my experience so far, best way is to ask for specific things, one at a time, and this will be far more helpful this way. Okay, so for assignment 4, I explicitly allow you to use it, but this applies only to current course. Please do not refer to me regarding other courses, because I don't want to get in any kind of trouble. And this is on record with recording. All advices regarding using artificial intelligence in your coding applies to only current course. Okay? Because other teachers may have different opinions, and our social dean may have also different opinions regarding to other courses. But in this course, and specifically in assignment 4, I want you to get experience with artificial intelligence engines. When I prepared to these lessons, I used 3 of them. And I want to share my experience with you, right? Share my kind of result of my learning about it with you, so you kind of get my opinion. And this is just my opinion. Since artificial intelligence progressing extremely fast, my opinion can be wrong in a couple months from now. So, but it is my current opinion, and I believe it is true right now, but it may change in a couple months, because technology is changing, artificial intelligence is progressing extremely fast. So by the time when assignment 4 is due, it will be still current, but maybe next year it is not the current case. Okay. So in preparation of these lessons, I use 3 artificial intelligence engines. I use it Grok, I use it Gemini, I use it Grok, it is from company of Elon Musk. He has a company devoted to artificial intelligence, and Grok is one of their products. I use it Gemini, it's a product from Google. And I use it artificial intelligence engine from JetBrains because they develop products, what's this called? IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate. IntelliJ IDEA and Ultimate is one of the versions, so they develop IntelliJ IDEA. And it is base product for Android Studio. And so that is specifically good with Android Studio in terms of how it works. Gemini can be used outside of Android Studio, and it can be helpful outside, and it can be useful inside. So if you open Android Studio, by the way, Grok cannot be currently used inside of Android Studio. It is technology limitation. They do not make it work. They provide some information how it's possible to do, but it's not a good idea at this point. Don't do it. In particular, it's not producing compilable code at this moment for Android. Code that it creates is extremely useful, and it is extremely smart. But unfortunately, it's not always compilable, and in many cases, it's not. So this is about Grok. Grok, you go to grok.com and ask questions, you will get smart answers with code. But be careful with that. Code is not necessarily compilable, and it may take hours and days to make it work, actually. Okay? And you can ask questions here. And it is able to produce code. Unfortunately, not all the code is compilable or immediately meeting your needs. So this a way to deal with Gemini, it is super useful as well. And answers are more product specific that's coming from Google. So it appears to me that it's for technological topics, how to use specific APIs for Firebase, it will produce kind of more hands-on code. Okay. Philosophically, it is questionable which is better, Grok or Gemini, because when you discuss design decisions that could be implemented various ways, it is questionable what is better. I don't know, actually, Gemini or Grok. It's for specific philosophical questions. I also use Grok for future work. For example, I want to make problem generation for problem example to have several levels of difficulty. Several levels of difficulty for addition problems, multiplication, division, subtraction problems, in order to make code more interesting and more useful, closer to real-life scenario. And if we meet problems, generating problems with different levels of difficulty for math, it's not just programming issue, it's philosophical issue, how to make reasonable levels of difficulty that relates to human beings, right? Because it has to be levels of difficulty that relates to difficulty of not for computer, but for human being. So it has to be research related to education. Notes example. And I said that code that comes from Google example is quite hard to understand. Let's leave it to the conscience of the person why the code is hard to understand. I will not comment on this on record. But I got the code into Android Studio. I downloaded it from link after this video. So this video has a link to the code. This is where I got it, this video. I opened this in Android Studio and started to type questions here in agent for that nodes code. This is not the nodes code. I started to type a question here. This code seems to have quite entangled navigation logic, and this logic is hard to follow, at least for intermediate level programmers. Could you suggest revision of the code to make it easier to follow? So it was my question here. For the code of nodes example, an answer from AI of this Gemini agent was no wonder it's hard to follow because it is quite entangled, because the programmer is using callbacks to navigation functions from view models. And that was indeed the case because it was hard to follow because it's jumping all around. In the beginning of compose function, programmer was inserting callbacks into view models to those functions, navigation functions. And it was more callbacks than necessary even. Some of them had no reason for it, in my opinion. Completely no reason. It was suggestion in the same reply. In order to make the code less entangled, let's use a pattern. Let's use what is called navigation event pattern. So it was a learning experience because I didn't know even that pattern exists. Google kind of keeps it to themselves, but programmers, some advanced programmers use it. It's called navigation event pattern. And it suggests and explains this navigation event pattern that will make code more straightforward to understand. I agreed, so let's go through that and change this code. I was agree. So it was very little effort for me to change code from callback functions from view model to navigation event pattern. It did create code far easier to follow, far easier. It was transparent code. But because original code has unnecessary stuff in it, that unnecessary things cause it unnecessary things in the resulting code of AI engine. Original code contained unnecessary callbacks from given to view model. There is no logical reason to have it. Absolutely. Programmer was inserting callbacks into view model to navigation functions, but code would be by far simpler without it and work exactly the same way. There is no reason for it. And just because this original code has inefficiency this way, artificial intelligence agent applied navigation pattern using this navigation event pattern, brute force, replacing previous code, brute force to navigation event pattern. And of course, the result was easier to follow, but it created events that do not have to exist because there is no reason for it. Because original code contained logic that do not have to be there because it's absolutely unlogical to do that. So it took unlogical code and created code that is more logical, but somehow it inherited issues from original code. And this is the place where I started to get involved in changing the code. Because it appeared to me that some events don't have to exist. It created events based on brute force applying transition from one pattern, one code to this pattern. So I started type. It appears to me that suggestions like this. It appears to me that using what was my, let me think, how to say. It appears to me that view model doesn't have to get involved when we navigate to specific screen. So, and I gave that screen name. So it was compose function for that screen. And my suggestion to AI was, it appears to me that view model doesn't need to get involved when we navigate from this function, this screen, to that screen. Am I right? So that was actually kind of question. I gave suggestion, and I said, am I right? And the answer was, yes, you are right. It doesn't have to be involved because it will be simpler way, and the logic will be the same. So what did it do? It removed that event and make code simpler. Next again, I'm Googling through code, and I find the places like that. So many events that were created due to brute force transition from entangled code to more straightforward code were removed by just typing suggestions. Let's look at this code at a specific place, and do we really need this part kind of suggestion? And it realized that specific part could be simpler different way, and it's editing the code. So I got involved at that point, and it is in editing that notes example. And it became even more simpler because unnecessary events were removed. Navigation events were removed from the code. Later I realized that naming of some functions in the original code, or naming parameters of some screen functions, compose functions, do not suggest what is going on. So just pure names do not tell you what is happening. So it is another issue with human understanding. But for artificial AI, it's not necessarily the case because, okay, code is working, right? So after this, I started to manually rename stuff in the code. And you cannot really ask AI to make it more sensible names, right? So I started to just purely rename it by refactor, rename. So this is how I changed code from notes, notes example that came from Google, to the code that you have it right now, and link it to Slate. And we ran this code last time and explained. So interaction logic with Firebase stayed 100% the same. So I would make sure, and the AI also was trying to keep it. So interaction logic of this program with Firebase and Firestore stayed the same. Is it good logic or not? This is a separate issue. Because we changed logic of the code, but we didn't change logic of interaction with Firebase and Firestore. So that is the open question. And at the previous lesson, I didn't really have answer. So I decided, okay, people at Google know better, okay? Especially about this person who works for Firebase, who wrote the code, probably she knows better, at least on Firebase side, okay? So I still think that she probably better programmer than me, but she's making questionable choices anyway. So what is the issue? Issue is login right Because currently, Android navigation system does not have specific prescribed way to handle logins to some other system, like specifically to Firebase, Firestore. When we look at Node's example, original one and even after revised one, this one, I still have some feeling that it's a hack, essentially. It's a hack. Perhaps smart, perhaps maybe not perfect, but it's a hack. And it's not only my opinion, because there is Navigation 2 and Navigation 3 system for Android. We are currently using Navigation 2 system. It's two different library sets. Navigation 2. Its current Navigation 3 is about to come out. Navigation 3 is about to come out. So they released one version, version 1, release candidate 1. It means in several months we will have those. It is definitely a different system, and it is good idea to learn it at some point. So for this reason, I tried to experiment with it, and I have branches, a room, it means local database room, with Navigation 3. I made it work. For local database and Navigation 3. I even explained this in class as introduction to Navigation 3 system, and hope my explanation will help you to learn it later. When it becomes current thing. So because there is several years between your current course and capstone course, so maybe by capstone it will be more common. Currently it's absolutely uncommon. And just because it is absolutely uncommon, artificial intelligence agents have no damn clue how to deal with it. Okay? So, so it will never help you to edit your code if you try to use Navigation 3. So for this reason, Firebase code is using Navigation 2 because I want you to play with AI. It will be a helpful experience anyway, and it will absolutely give you zero help if you use Navigation 3. Because few people use it. It is still in release candidate. It means very little code base to train AI on it. So it has no damn clue how to use it. Okay? So for this reason, I switch it from Navigation 3 back to Navigation 2. I backported it. So my Firebase example, my own this month, that we will look at next lesson, is using Navigation 2 because, like, what is the difference? Navigation 3 gives you direct access to navigation stack. It means your navigation logic is somewhat different. It's different code. Also, Navigation 3 claims to have direct support for login system, which is good because current login system for Navigation 2, there is no implementation, so people have to hack it around. Okay? And there are multiple hacks, and each of them looks kind of different degree of smartness and stupidity. But there are different hacks to deal with it. And this nodes example does use some hack, obviously. And that brings question, is it a good hack or bad hack? In my opinion, it's a reasonable hack. Not necessarily good or bad, it's just a reasonable hack. But it's still hack. How to deal with login to Firestore or Firebase from Android system. Okay? So, bottom line, it's a hack that tend to work to some degree. But this hack has issues. And these issues are quite obvious. And we will see them, okay? You can do this, you can use this code in your assignment, fine, if you're aware of these issues. In real life scenario, you will find a better way to do logins. By the time when you need it, most likely, it will be officially released from Google recommendations how to do it. Okay. So this notes example does have a hack how to do logins, because it's not officially supported in any sense. So what about navigation 3? Navigation 3 claims that this system has provision to do logins in nice way. This is a claim. But they don't tell you how. They provide you just one example. No documentation, just one example. It's a code about 1 page long. No explanation except some comments in the code. It's about 1 page long, entire example, 1 page long. And so it is extremely elementary, with some notes, like in comments in the code, not very much. Definitely not enough for me to learn. Definitely not enough for me, and not enough for artificial intelligence to learn from this 1 page of the code. So, in my opinion, it is next to useless. So this is, at this stage, because they don't provide enough information how to use it in real life scenario, not in 1 page code, it is absolutely useless, because if you don't know how to use it, you cannot use it. So for this reason, I backported back to tools, so at least AI can help you, AI can help me, and there are some examples that beyond just 1 page long. Okay. So although NAV3 works regarding specific cases like login, they claim that it is there, but they don't really explain how. Okay, how to use it. It brings second question about how, okay, if it's a hack, there are better hacks and bad hacks, right? There are questionable hacks, right? In this case, in my opinion, it is a hack. It is not super great, it's not super bad, it's some kind of reasonable, but in real life scenario, you have to change it. So for demo, maybe it's okay. But for real life scenario, you have to change it. One of the issues that when you do login, it does not don't display your message like your login failed. Okay? You have to rewrite code just for that stupid thing that when you cannot log in, it's to get a message that your login failed. So in this, it's just don't do anything. Okay? When you try to log in and you type wrong password, it just don't do anything. It just stays on the same screen without any message. At least for that particular piece, you have to rewrite logic of it in order to be able to display login failed message. Because it's not just UI thing, it's also related to repository that provides user ID. So it's all across the app. So it's not just recreating some screen function, right? A screen compose function. It's also rewriting logic down there. So a logic of this inherits the same issue from original one because original code, because I decided, okay, let's keep interaction with Firebase exactly the same. So. Although code works, there are multiple issues with this login logic. And one of the obvious things, it never tells you that login failed. just stays on the same screen. You're supposed to guess that you couldn't log in because it's not going anywhere. Okay? So this is one of the issues. Second issue with this hack is that lots of duplication code. It has only two screens that display data. and both screens has duplication code. And call back to restart app from each screen. There is such notion in software design and programming. It's called code smell. Code smell. Smell is not really good smell. It's like stinky smell. Okay? It's called code smell. You don't see the issue, but you notice some stinky smell from it. Okay? This is what happened in this code. Duplication and callbacks from every screen that is using data to restart the app. Imagine that you have more than two screens that display data. In most cases you will, right? More than two screens displaying the data. So this code will be duplicated in every screen that displays the data, and every screen will have callback to restart the app. And when a restart happens, unfortunately, with current situation, by the way, that code is also you restarting app when you log out. But unfortunately, situation that user ID can be lost, not just not ID, user object that contains user ID can be lost not just when you log out explicitly. It is related to renewing token, like security token by file store libraries, and if it cannot renew the security token, for some objective reason, like no internet connection, either in between or on your device for some time, user object and user ID becomes null. It's not explicit log out from the user, so user doesn't do anything wrong. But you cannot show data on the screen, and if a program is not written right way, it will cause crash because you ask for data that you cannot access. So you'll get some null in some broken logic. Right? So most likely, if you're not careful, it will crash. So this particular code notes in the original and in inherited version from the original is handling this case by restarting the app. Like explicitly, like let's screen out stuck, let's go to login page, automatic login, and let's restart this. And it is the reason why it has callbacks in every screen function that is displaying some data. And again, this is code smell. It works, but it stinks. If you have more than two, you will have this in every screen. There's no reason for that. It's just, it stinks. So it's also came up to another place where I used AI to resolve what is the correct logic of interaction between the app and file store. Because apparently this code stinks. Okay, it works, but it stinks. So let's think how to do it logically. Since I'm not really experienced in this area, I asked AI. And I went to Gemini, because Gemini is Google product, Firebase is Google product. I didn't do it here, but I tried. So I had a code for, it was separate from nodes. It was my code for Firebase here. So it is two additional experiences with AI. My Firebase code, this is no Firebase, but there is Firebase. Firebase code, and I asked an agent specifically to my mass code, how would I add login option to Firestore to this code because it's not there. And AI generated that code. But it apparently deleted more than one page of my code. And that was useful because it is screen, okay? My layout screen. So it's apparently deleted about one page of screen layout just for answering my question. Okay. This is logic of AI you be aware of. You need to be aware of. It tries to help you, but it tries to resolve the issue without really kind of taking enough care, right? So just for sake of creating login, it deleted content of one function that more than one page of long of layout of the screen. And obviously I said, I do not accept it, because I never say accept all, right? I said do not accept it, so it ended up with broken code. I'm typing here. I did not accept your revision for this function because this revision deleted a lot of code that I wanted to keep. Please create another function with a similar name. It was home. Let's call it new home. And put your code there. So instead of deleting stuff in my existing function, create another one. And put your code there, because I know how to deal with it, right? I already have function. And let's say, oh, I'm sorry, I deleted lots of your code. Let's go back and I'll create another function. So although it tends to do sometimes unreadable things, it can fix stuff if you ask. Bottom line, version control system helps. So if it breaks, you have previous version anyway. You can recover it. There is also version control itself in agent. You can roll it back. You can ask, please go back. I'm not relying on that. Hopefully it works, but I didn't try. So there is your own version control that you use with Git. There is also version control in agent itself, so it can roll back stuff. So it keeps history. So it could roll back. Previously did because it was broken. I didn't accept change. And it created another function for home screen and called new home, and I could change it together. So what did I saw? I saw another hack. Not even better than for nodes. It is just another hack with issues. So, okay, let's go here. It's another opinion. Let's get second opinion. So instead of a Gemini, I clicked artificial intelligence engine from this JetBrains. And I rolled it back Git. I created another branch. These are one of the branches. And I said, I need to add login code to this project to login into Firebase using using email and password and anonymous login. So there's to have the same features. It did produce code. And it required very little editing from my side to make it work. So this one. And at the previous lesson, we looked at file store database created by math program. So when we go to file store, Firebase, so get started in console. A math trainer, and if I go to Firebase, I will see users, problems. This is a problem, right answer, blah, blah, blah. I go to quizzes, I have 2 quizzes, go here, and this is the information about quiz. So, bottom line, AI can help you to create code. So that was a version created by this agent, AI chat. It produced code here, but it is an option to copy-paste code at your cursor. So you don't have to manually copy and paste. It will be option button, put cursor, click this button, code goes to place, which is kind of useful. Okay? But I looked through this code had issue. Code has had issue like logical issue. So it was working, but it will be failing once in a while. So it's not really, it's a hack also. Okay? It's perhaps somewhat better hack, but it's still hack. So when would it fail? It tries to log in, and it was trying to log in on start of, activity, and after this it goes to displaying the screen. And screen display was assuming that you already logged in. So it was concurrent task between logging in and displaying the screen. So by just pure accident, it could manage to log in before displaying the screen. But if it would go to displaying the screen before login, because of slow internet connection, it would crash. So I got it working, but it was wrong, obviously. It shouldn't crash when network is slow or whatever, right? So although it is working, solution sucks. Okay? So I got it committed as a separate branch just to look at it. But in terms of checking that the rest of the program is working, it was software useful. Because now I at least know that program works. Issue is with login screen, but previously I didn't know, right? So issue is with login screen, login logic. But the rest of the program, fine. I try it, I run it, it works, no issue. What I need to resolve issue with concurrency. Like it tries to log in, then go to the screen. If login is not managed yet, it will crash by the time it goes to the screen. Oh, what should I do? Go into artificial intelligence engine again. Now I decided not to do it here because this guy or lady, whatever, Gemini, produced a hack that had issues similar to Node's hack. This produced another hack with obvious issue, but lots of useful code. You can edit it yourself and get rid of it, but I didn't want to. Okay? So let's get it back. So away from Android Studio, away completely, I opened the Gemini. And in the history, it should be somewhere, so let's find it in the history. I asked a question because I want to learn how to do it right, not how to do hack with multiple issues, at least to have a hack with few issues. Okay? I ask. It appears like a problem. It appears like we need to deal with the issue that user goes null, user object goes null when we have a connection issue. Like losing security token because of no internet connection for some significant time. Okay, so I asked a question, direct question. When the Firebase user becomes null, is it only before login and after explicit logout of the explicit logout or other situations? So it is a place where AI helps you to learn theory. It is pure theoretical questions, and I did it to Gemini because Gemini is Google product, right? And Firestore is also Firebase is also Google product. So it is learning question. Okay? And answer, yes, there are other situations. Okay? Where file-based user object can become null before login and besides login and after explicit logout. And it is explaining that that it could be security token lost. This is how I got this information. Okay? So using AI is also learning experience about current situation. Right? So, okay. Another option, user deleted by the administrator, but you offer whatever up, right? So user object disappears, but you didn't log in, and so. Clearing storage update on the server side. Security action required re-authentication. So like password expired, whatever, right? So the recommendation is safe practices. So, and it started to suggest code, which is good. Okay, at least we're going in the right direction. So, guard navigation access, another little suggestion, but suggestions are kind of assuming too much from me. So, I want you to actually tell me exactly things, but not just point at issues. I can point at issues myself, right? So a little bit more suggestion, graceful logout, and it asks, following this step, decouple access from the current user property instead of relying on persistent observable state flow, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, and last question. Would you like an example of using this? This is the key point. Would you like an example? Obviously, I do. Because information from the above is good, thank you so much, but I don't really know how to code it. And I answered, yes, please give me an example. Give me an example. Okay? Certainly. And it suggests authentication repository. And you see, this is still kind of fake code because it's not really other situations, okay? So, all right. Authentication view model. And how to use compose in UI navigation. So this suggestion is completely different from previous hack. That is not even close to it. So what does it suggest? It suggests to have a state either you login or logout. You see loading, login or logout. And totally different navigation graph for situation when you log in or you didn't log in. So previous hacks didn't have it totally. So this hack suggests to have a different nav host windows for situations where you log in or you didn't log in. This is critical. It is essential difference, and this difference is deep. It means that we're really separating login place where you didn't log in was from place where you did log in. And this is really appears like good idea. Because previous hack, we have it mixed together and we have to deal with multiple things in one place. So I like this. But it still has something unauthenticated nav graph, authenticated nav graph. So it's a black box, you don't know what is there. It just wrote you, whatever. be happy. No, I'm not happy with that. Because it doesn't tell me how to do it. Okay? It suggested smart thing, so thank you for that. And the smart thing is just to use 2 different navigation graphs, or 2 different nav host windows. For the case when you log in and log out. Looks good. But not enough information for me to do it. It's not enough view model and say, cool, would you like to know how to set up corresponding data file store? Repository set. Since this is not clear to me what she or he, whatever, Gemini, is implying inside of unauthentication nav graph, I'm asking you, could you make an example of unauthenticated nav graph? Because this is not clear to me what is the code. And say, that is a great step. Here's the code. And this code is almost compilable. Okay, it's not inside of Android Studio, but you can create Android Studio project, create a file, copy-paste there, and try it from one file. So this is huge progress, actually. This is huge progress because it suggested some hacks that make sense. It created code that is almost compilable. This file can be temporarily inserted as just one file into Android Studio project, and you can run it, you can compile it. Unfortunately, it's a huge file, 232 pages, and this file has issues. So, it's not a final solution yet. Okay, so where it was. So I clicked on this and opened this one. And it is explanation, which is good, thank you very much. Now, okay, there is another piece which is mysterious to me, because the original code has authentication graph and not authentication and authentication. I asked about not authentication graph, now I'm asking about authentication graph. Could you also make a mock example? Mock it means it's not actual Firebase, it is imitating with the code to explain the concept. So it created code to imitate Firebase, which is okay for me, just explain me how to do it. Even on imitated code, I want to see it. Okay? So I'm asking, could you also make a mock example of the authenticated nav graph? For me, for further clarity, obviously. Say, I'd be happy to provide a clear example. Cool. Here is another one. And this has more details in it. Also one huge file, but it's okay, at least that one. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay? Now we have pieces together. I'm looking through that. I am copy-pasting this into Android Studio as just one file. And I say, in the code, home screen is using repository directly, which is not really a live scenario. It is for demo purpose. So she decided that it is, AI decided that it's easier to demonstrate this way, but I want to see it, how to do it in real life scenario, and typically repositories are not accessed directly from screens, they access it from view models. So I'm asking, for demonstration purpose, could you have a home screen use home view model instead of accessing mock data repository? Great, it says, this is excellent way to structure, so let's make view model for home screen. So it's away from my code, but it is building example that explain me how to do navigation with login into Firebase, but without actually using Firebase, so it's imitation good enough for me. Okay? Now, let's do the changes. Okay. And now I realized that imitation repository for the data has only one float in it. But typically when you deal with the data, you remember this from at least a local database, you can have a functions returning flow with the data flows kind of thing, right? And you also have a suspend functions that update the data or delete the data. So typical repository has two kinds of functions. Functions returning flows and suspend functions that change the data in terms of updating, creating new, or deleting. Right? So I ask it, could you add these functions to your repository for illustration purpose? Because it already explained me how to deal with flow. Now I want to know how to deal with suspend functions. And I say, yeah, good, let's do that. And it provided some explanation and updated the file to do it for suspend functions. Also for illustration purpose, okay. And later realized that the code has only login and email and password login. It doesn't have anonymous login. So I'm asking, could you please illustrate the more code how to correctly handle anonymous sign-in and link the user's email and password account and sign out? And say, oh, let's do that. Okay. So you see, original code is not necessarily what you want, but you can persuade or convince it to do what you want, but you have to interact with it. Right? Okay. And now I realized that your repository to do login doesn't have any kind of logic that login fails. This is a issue in other hacks, right? Because in node hacks or node example or other generated code by AI that I tried, doesn't have any error handling in it, except just it doesn't do anything when error happens. So I said, okay, if you're so smart, let's help you to do that. Okay. So could you please illustrate in the more code? So it's a fake code, but at least it's working. So it is creating fake code to illustrate the concept. So could you please illustrate in the more code how to handle the situation if we assume that functions in the authentication repository could fail or throw exception in real life, for example, no internet connection? This part is definitely missing from all hacks so far, because all of them didn't handle this issue, unfortunately. And I'm asking this direct question to AI, how to deal with it. Because AI code that engine produced here didn't have it, and actually it was already broken some code, so I decided to give up on this idea, but now I'm asking. Okay? And it says this is a crucial step to building production-ready application by modeling potential failures. So it suggested little pop-up that's called snack bar, I believe it's called snack bar at the bottom of the screen that will show login failed when it is actually fails. So it's again, it's an imitation of real life scenario, but it's showing me programming logic, how to handle it, which is really great option. Even if you don't have final Firebase code, you at least have a kind of logic flow how to handle situation when login fails for whatever reason. Right? So let's create action status that will contain, and so now our repository, login repository, authentication repository now has a status change, depending on our situation. Good idea, so let's do that. And also it's suggested to create flow, not it's flow, it's called channel. Channel, it's variant of flow. Channel to push error messages to UI, which is super good idea. If you can push error messages to UI and tell me how to do it, I will be really great. It will be really great, seriously helpful. Seriously grateful, okay, thankful, okay. Now, please create me channel of error flows from login repository, authentication repository to UI. Cool, let's do that. Okay. Now, I got everything what I want. Absolutely everything. I'm super helpful, super kind of happy about it. I copy-pasted entire file again in Android Studio and tried to come to see. Oops. Compiler has a problem in line 3373 from this file. So compilation issue. It created code, look good. When you copy-pasted this to Android Studio, it has compilation issue at this line. And say, oh, you found it. So let's fix it. So, and it suggested the fix. By the way, when I copy-pasted this code to Android Studio and asked it Gemini right here, these both are Gemini. This Gemini and this Gemini. So when I copy-pasted this code in Android Studio and asked this Gemini about compilation issue, it couldn't solve it. I asked it, it was again some kind of strange loop, it didn't solve it. So I went back and asked it here. So that was previous step. I tried to use the Gemini about this compilation issue. Didn't help. But this found it immediately. Somehow it has better understanding of the code what it created. Perhaps this Gemini didn't have a history of creating this code, so it couldn't figure out what's wrong with it. But this one had the history of building this code, so it could figure out what is wrong. So it suggested how to solve it so that it's solved. As this, another compilation issue, with the code produced by Gemini. This is what I mean. Most likely, if you ask to do everything from scratch, it will still create broken code. So this is what, but in this case, I was kind of asking what I want, but even that created code that doesn't compile. So what is this one? I got compilation issue with enough host, underline it, and Android Studio says no suitable candidates for this function. So something is obviously wrong with imports or in other places. Oh, I see this issue. Compile is likely having trouble with nav host when it tries to determine how to build it. So it is. So let's redo that part. So it did revise the code. Then another compilation issue. It did another revision. Another compilation issue. Did another revision. Now I got theoretical question. So it appears like it resolved compilation issues because you don't know about this issue unless you copy-paste it to Android Studio and see it, right? So I was copy-pasting this code to Android to see Android Studio is one file to see if it compiles or not. A real life scenario is not one file. But in order to determine if code is compilable, you can copy-paste it as one file from it. Okay? next step, it would be just to split it into files, and that is not difficult. I did it already. So next step from here is to do it better, okay? Or at least to learn more about it. Right? And now it is 9:50, so let's have a break because we're already going almost 2 hours. No, slightly less than 2 hours because we started 10 minutes late. So let's have a break, and after this we will look at this. I'm video recording it and doing discussion. Hopefully when you use it, it will be helpful. Again, this is time-dependent time because by the time of assignment, it's probably helpful. Maybe next year it's not because technology is changing. So let's have a break, and after break, we will restart. Restarting after break. Before the break, we stopped it here, and now I will go to the code that claim probably works, but it didn't actually. But assumption that it will work, because I don't know at this moment. Looks sensible, but it compiles. At this moment, it compiles. I copy-pasted this to Android Studio to see this file compiles. It does. I didn't run it because if I click run button, it will run default project. It will show hello Android on the screen. It will not run this code. But this way we can check if this is really compilable code by copy-paste it into one file. Now I'm asking, I noticed that home view model receives dependency injection of mock authentication view model as a parameter. I didn't see this before ever in any Android code, but okay, I'm just programming teacher. I'm not working at Google. So perhaps it's good, but I don't really know. So I'm asking directly, is it an all right approach in real life, not mock code? So this is what I want to know. Because their view model here has dependency on another view model as a parameter. We didn't see it so far in any code. To me, it's the first time in my life. And it says, that's fantastic, highly practical question, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it is recommended approach in large projects from Google. Yes, I didn't know. How do they know? So learning experience. So bottom line again, the same again, this sense, talking to AI can help us to learn. And it is one point. I asked a question about the code and say it's common experience, I tend to believe it. Of course, obviously, for larger projects, for small, it doesn't make sense. To have dependency injection of one view model into another one. And this way, we can avoid duplication of the code. So, and it explains also, we have a shared upstream state principle. It is so we have a view model that is sharing state with other view models, where it is injected. So it is apparently a good idea. I didn't know, but now it is. Going to code from example of Node. Remember that Node example? And I said that code smells, to be exact, it stinks. It has duplication of the code between different view models. And the way how resolve this issue in graceful way by injecting common code view model into those other view models that need this code. And apparently this is shared upstream state code, and it is sharing this called shared upstream state. And shared upstream state, in this case, it is login status of the user. Good learning experience, and it is explanation how it works. Good, thank you, I read it. And it also makes code easier testable, easier to test, easier to make it first separation of concern, decoupling the code. Makes it life cycle awareness easier. It is state of activity because you know the activity is going through life stages, creating, destroying, and other things like statuses. So also it helps. And in real life, yes, it's used. It's good to know. And now, what I did next. I I run this code in Android Studio. So I found the function that is at the bottom. That is actually called preview function, but it is technically could be used as a preview, but if you run it, it will actually run imitation of the app. And I realized that this program has a logical issue. It is not compilation issue anymore. It just doesn't behave right. So what happens? I say, let us consider the following sequence. A user upgraded from anonymous to permanent user. It means it started using anonymously. Now a user created account to have a login and password. And logged out. How would the user log in after that? Because there's no option in the app. Obvious issue, right? There is a way to log out, but there's no way to log in afterwards. So apparently it was a missing part in the code, and it's better to ask it, please help me to do that than to figure out yourself. So code that was created up to this point has a logical issue. You could log out, but you could not log in after that. So of course, that's a great question. Let's fix the code. And explanation again, and new code. So I copy-pasted this again in Android Studio, and I ran it again. And I found another logical inconsistency. After you log out, behavior is different from behavior before you log in. But it should be the same, obviously. For any logical reasons, behavior of the program after logout should be exactly the same as the behavior before you log in. But it wasn't the case, so it's a bug. And it's kind of hard to trace the bug because it is a deep logic of this login logic, right? So I stated as issue, after logging out, your behavior is different, and I explained how. And it is trying to solve it. Oops, it didn't. So it tried to solve this logical inconsistency, but it didn't. So at this point, a situation is that after logging out, program behaves differently from before login. But it shouldn't. Okay? So I started to think why the approach didn't solve it. Because now it is my logical decision because AI didn't do it. So I thought that, okay, if you log out, it's probably some state from your logout didn't clear up in your navigation history. So after logout, there is something remaining in navigation history that makes behavior different. After you log out and log in, it's different. Then you just log in from. So behavior is different. Logout creates additional garbage, essentially. That should be cleared. So I'm writing, the new code for login screen did not resolve this issue, and now I'm trying to suggest it myself to resolve it. Because apparently it didn't do it itself, so I'm suggesting. It appears to me that the logout does not clear up navigation stack in authentication nav graph. And when you log out, it's kind of creating an issue. So now, yes, it's right. Okay, this is the issue. It is replied. You identified it very subtle but common sense in composed navigation when dealing with global nav controller, right? What it says, global nav controller, no, something like that. State in nav controller survives changing screens, essentially. So the way to deal with it, let's clear the stack explicitly after you log in. So it didn't suggest to do it on logout, but immediately after login definitely solves this issue, which is good with me. So it suggested small piece of code to insert immediately after login that will clear navigation history, so we will not have a garbage in the navigation stack when we log in. So, okay, so this is forcing the stack reset. It means small piece of the code, and I say, the issue is resolved. Thank you. Okay, finally, it wasn't automatic, so I had to suggest possible thinking, possible issue why it didn't resolve, and Gemini found that it is the case, and actually added the code that is resolving this issue. So artificial intelligence is not replacing intelligence at this moment. Artificial intelligence is not replacing programmers at this moment, because you see it requires interaction with it, otherwise it's just, it's getting stuck. But I absolutely agree with people who say, in any visible number of years, artificial intelligence will not replace programmers. But programmers who use artificial intelligence will replace programmers who don't. Because it helps so much that people who use artificial intelligence in the process of writing code, like for example I did here, have huge advantage of those who don't. So in order to stay competitive with other programmers, we really have to learn to use it as a tool. Not as a black box, like do everything for me from scratch, because most likely it won't. But as a tool of helping you, as a tool that you can guide, and the tool that give you information, the tool from which you can learn, the tool from which you can get some clues for you, for your code, the tool that you get some useful copy-paste in your code. It is absolutely great help. And I'm 100% convinced that the claim is right. Programmers who use artificial intelligence as a helper, not as the one who's doing everything for them, but as a help, will replace programmers who don't. Because programmers who don't, it appears to me they cannot compete. It is absolutely they cannot compete. It's like trying to run on a bicycle versus in race on bicycle versus race on a car, right? Somebody is participating on a motorcycle, right? So somebody is participating in race in using car, and you try to compete it with running on your own foot or on bicycle. So bottom line, it is absolutely useful as a tool. It's not useful as a replacement of a brain, not as useful as a replacement of a programmer itself, and definitely when it happens, it will be fewer job positions for programmers, because programmer that is using artificial intelligence can replace several programmers that don't. Unless it will be high demand in software, most likely it will, so maybe it will be less programmers, but maybe it will be the same amount of programmers, or maybe even more, but programmers who are not using AI will not be able to compete. No way, absolutely. So learn to get experience, it will help you, and this is why it is allowed to use in assignment 4, explicitly, I say it. It's allowed to use, provided that you don't ask it to do everything for you from scratch, and most likely it won't be able anyway, but it will be also considered bad case scenario. It is cheating, you are not learning from it, but you will learn a lot if you do it interactively, as I did, for example, here. So after this, it says, if you need anything else, let me know, and I say, yeah, thank you. Okay. Sum up, and later maybe, right? But I got code. I got code that is imitation of navigation of login and logout logic. So let's see what it did. So, File, Open, and I'm going to folder where I saved this. Mock Firebase authentication. It doesn't have Firebase code, but it has imitation of all navigation logic that can be copy-pasted, and of course with change, because code has to be edited. A new window. Here it is. Okay. So obviously it is more than one file, and it is quite easy to split. You right-click on the function that you want to move into another file and select from the drop-down list, you select refactor, move. And after this, you specify to which package and which file. I had one file, now I have a lot of them, and I had some kind of navigation to screen, then I have screens. I have root screen that is referring to two graphs, authenticated graph and not authenticated graph. Right? Authenticated graph and not authenticated graph. So that has all navigation window. I have authentication view model. I have imitation of authentication in repository. It's not real code, but imitation, but it works. Data repository, not real, but imitation. It works as imitation. If I run it, it will work. Okay, so definitely it's not real data on cloud, but this code explains how to do navigation within the app using login. And none of the hacks posted by Google actually did it. But their own Gemini created something better than their programmers' code. Because programmers that were creating examples for Firebase didn't create better hacks than that one. This is good hack. So I posted a link to the code on Slate. Import it, play it with it to see the logic of this hack, how it is dealing with the screens. Definitely login is fake because it's not going anywhere. But it says if you type requirement for this, you can continue first anonymously. If it is anonymous, there is a button on the top, create an account, otherwise it will stay there. There is two items. Again, it's in memory because it's imitation. Technically, it's editable, but it created these items to show how to call suspend function safe way, because I asked it, it created this one. So it is deletable, you can delete. It's demonstration of call of suspend functions. So code does show how to do it in real life scenario, but although it's imitation. So if you go to user screen, you can log out. If you go back to home screen, you can create an account. Right? If you type something, click on OK, it pretends to create account. So it is navigation logic. And it appears to me it is copy-pastable code. So it was my experience of dealing with AI. And I learned absolutely a lot from it. Super useful for me. I hope that you will play with it when you do assignment 4, at least for some time. So the code is posted here. So I push it to GitHub, so you can have access to the code. It is entirely created by AI through this interaction window. Except it was one file in the end, and I split it like logically into multiple files, because in real life application it's not one insanely huge file, it is several files. And splitting this into several files is extremely easy. You right click on item that you want to move into another file and say refactor move, and it will open dialog. In that dialog you specify where you want to move, which package, which file name. And refactoring will resolve this import issue. Sometimes copy copy-paste didn't resolve 100% of imports issue. I had to right-click on it and say import something, or do Alt-Enter or Option-Enter on Mac, select import something, because it wasn't still perfect code, but it was resolved all this way. It does work, play with it, and it has some fake logins options, so some have fake logins, so you can check it. It's not really login into Firebase, it is login into imitation, but definitely it was a lot of useful experience in terms of how to create navigation logic in the program that is not useful, is not immediately obvious at all. So hopefully I convinced you with that, okay? Speaking about, will I use it? Yes, I will. Okay. For a mass example, I already said that I use it. Currently, there are 2 hacks for it. One hack is just to copy paste from nodes because it has navigation logic, although it's kind of not really great, but we can copy paste from it and I can make it work. It's not a big deal. It is definitely a couple of hours, maybe up to 4 hours, but it's not several days. So that could be copy-pasted into mass example and do it that. But I didn't want, because it is kind of stinky approach, so I didn't. I don't want to do that. There is one, but it can be done. There is another approach, is to use code from this AI that is created this from JetBrains, and this is how I made it work, and it is working. But this code has a crash issue, and this is why I don't like it, because it tries to log in and show screen at the same time, and if login is show, screen will crash. So it is running condition. Definitely that code should be either fixed or totally replace it. And it appears like, to me, that the logic of created by AI and discussion with AI is the way to go. So I will use it in my example for mass trainer for Firebase version of it. And we will see how it goes. Okay. In the next lesson, I will post formal description of assignment 4. Are you already familiar with it? It is like assignment 2, but stores this on Firebase. I was a little kind of cautious in preceding discussion with how to do logins in my example, because I want to have reasonable logic. I don't want this to stink. Okay. I have no intention to fix stinkiness in code provided by Google. It will just stay as it is, except I made the navigation simpler in the notes example, so I will use that one. And to-do list example that is called differently, it is called Make It So. Version 2 already has better navigation logic. So I will not review this. In your assignment 4, use whatever you like. There are 3 variants. Okay. Either from notes or from Make It So, it is to-do list. I will post that link. Also an example from Google. Or the one which will be in mass example, I will put it together. Now we have very little time left. Hopefully this discussion was useful. We didn't do coding, but I believe it was a reasonable discussion or chat of using AI, and I highly encourage you to use it. But in other courses, you have to get information from that prof who is teaching that course, because I don't want you to get in trouble. Before using AI in other courses, you really have to ask or get explicit information, explicit permission from that teacher. I don't want you to get in trouble. I don't want myself to get in trouble. So this is why I'm saying you explicitly, before using this in any other course, clear this up. Okay? But for assignment 4, I believe it's clearer the level, how you're absolutely welcome to use it. So I did it, hopefully reasonable explanation of the level. If you have any questions about how much you can use, you're definitely welcome to ask. Okay? So let's wrap it up, because it's a little time left and it's very little time to start anything new. So at the next lesson, we go through the logic of nodes. It is quite short logic, so it's not a big deal, probably half an hour. It is quick to explain because I changed navigation logics with the help of Gemini and my own in time to do that. That is easy to explain. And I hopefully, if I finish math example, hopefully I will, who knows, I will at least introduce that one. And there is also larger example for to-do list from Google. That is a reasonable version. Navigation is okay, better than in nodes. Not perfect, but it is at least easy to follow. Logic is easy to follow because it doesn't have that jumping all around everywhere in the code. So that is easier to follow. I will not change that code. I will take it as it is. So let's wrap it up and done for today. Do you have any questions? No? It's okay. So.